discover the incredible message a little girl shared. Mommy's tears can't hide my party's joy. Sarah Thompson sat at her kitchen table, the once vibrant space now overshadowed by an oppressive weight. She gazed out the window at the sun setting over their modest block, a sign of another day gone, yet the dread within her twisted like a tightening spring. She was a single mother, alone in raising the sharpest, most curious 6-year-old. Lily. The relentless cycle of bills loomed every month, each envelope carrying an anticipation of defeat. With the thrill of her daughter's birthday approaching, the room filled with a sense of impending celebration. But within Sarah's chest, unease churned. She longed to put on a joyful face, to dust away Lily's worries. Yet the truth that kept her awake at night was suffocating. "Mommy can't always be happy," she whispered softly, letting the confession spill into the quiet air. She hesitated, her heart heavy with an ambition that seemed ever more distant with each passing day. The dreams of becoming a nurse flickered like a candle under a gust of wind, often snuffed out by the harsh realities of life that came crashing like waves. Every late shift at the medical office felt like a step away from her aspirations. The longer she remained in that role, the further her dreams slipped from her grasp. How could she honor Lily's birthday with a simple party when the cost of just living felt like scaling a mountain? Before she could deter herself with negative thoughts, a lump formed in her throat. She rested her head on the table, trying to stave off the tears that threatened like storm clouds. Would it always be like this? Alone with Lily? Alone with her dreams? The warmth in her eyes faded as darkness seemed to creep in, contrasting with the cheerful decorations they had begun to make. She had hoped for happier times, full of her parents' laughter, hints of love that could buoy her through her struggles. But since their unexpected departure, strength felt both elusive and demanding. Her thoughts spiraled into despair as she fingered a crumpled birthday invitation in front of her. "Mommy's tears can't hide my party's joy." The voice of her little girl now echoed from the hall, piercing through Sarah's gloom. As if summoned from magic, Lily shuffled in, curiosity written across her sweet face. The innocence radiating from her cut through Sarah's anguish, yet it stung sharper. Could she truly give Lily what she deserved? The anticipation in her daughter's eyes smoldered with joy, while Sarah felt trapped beneath crushing weight. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, a sound flickered at the door. The bell rang. Sarah wiped her eyes quickly, instinctively shifting into her role as a mother before even realizing. But her mind was still lost in the shadows of doubt, swirling chaotic scenarios spinning through her awareness. If she couldn't figure this out soon, there would be no celebration, no semblance of a memory to cherish. Yet as she opened the door, her heart raced, only to be greeted by Ms. Collins, a retired nurse, with a comforting smile and a basket of community support she hadn't expected. A glimmer of community, perhaps, but the chasm between her dreams and reality remained wide. As she ventured back, the remnants of hope felt precarious, translucent like glass waiting to shatter. Would it always feel as if dreams dangled just beyond reach, leaving her suffocating in despair? In that moment, while surrounded by a long familiar loneliness, tension shrunk her resolve. Sarah's breath caught. The weight oppressing her heart only deepened as Lily's glimmer of hope seemed to wane. Would the joy of today eclipse the fear of tomorrow, or would her own struggles drown Lily's radiant light? The evening loomed heavy with uncertainty, a storm of emotion rising. How would she pivot toward possibility when all around became increasingly tangled in despair? Choices vast yet agonizing pulsed beneath her fingers, thickening the air between heart and dreams, between a daughter's laughter and the burdens of empty resolve. As Sarah resumed her seat at the kitchen table, Ms. Collins's presence lingered, a reminder that she was indeed not as alone as she felt. The kind woman's smile bore a weight of understanding that brought a flicker of clarity to Sarah's muddled thoughts. Perhaps this unexpected support was silently nudging her toward a crucial decision, a need to reevaluate what truly mattered, not only for Lily, but for herself as well. With a deep breath, Sarah resolved to articulate her feelings, a step she had never dared in the past. "Ms. Collins," she started, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. "I've been thinking a lot about where I'm at in life and what I want to do." The words spilled out before she could take them back, revealing the hopes she had tucked away beneath layers of obligation. The older woman nodded, encouraging her to continue. "I want to help people. I always wanted to be a nurse, but it feels like a distant dream. I'm scared. What if it's too late?" Ms. Collins leaned in closer. "Sarah, it's never too late to pursue your passion. Every day offers a chance to move toward your dreams. It may not happen overnight, but incremental steps can lead to brighter days. Have you considered taking some classes?" The idea took root in Sarah's mind, weaving through her doubts and fears, morphing into a pathway rather than an obstacle. She realized she had dismissed the notion of education as if it belonged to an old life that no longer applied to her. The unfulfilled ambition sat like an anchor, dragging her deeper into despair. "What would I do?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You could explore programs at community colleges, maybe even online courses. Start small, but be consistent. You have the drive and intelligence to make this work. And Lily, she would be so proud of you." The mention of Lily ignited a spark within Sarah, reminiscent of the joy that accompanied her daughter's laughter. She envisioned her little girl, eyes bright with wonder, emerging from a world of naivete to witness her mother's determination to become a nurturer and healer. That delight filled Sarah with renewed energy, unearthing ambitions long buried. But with excitement also loomed anxiety. Would she have the time, the energy? Could she manage late shifts at work alongside classes? As she rifled through these possibilities, the gravity of her current position reasserted itself. The bills remained, hovering just out of sight, screaming for her attention. But could she find a way to juggle both aspirations and obligations? Swallowing hard against the tide of uncertainty, Sarah clenched her fists, feeling the strength in her resolve. "I can do this," she murmured, a mantra slowly solidifying. Yet the true test loomed ahead. Could she persuade her employer to accommodate her ambitions, knowing how tenuous her grasp on financial stability was? "Do you need help with research?" Ms. Collins asked softly, breaking through her thoughts. "I'd be happy to assist." A wave of gratitude washed over Sarah, making her heart swell. A genuine partnership, even as small as this one, could pave the way for her larger aspirations. It felt like the first breath of fresh air after gasping underwater. "Thank you, Ms. Collins," Sarah replied. "I might need that." As Ms. Collins gathered her basket and prepared to leave, a shift unfurled within Sarah. The obstacles that had felt insurmountable began to rearrange as the seeds of determination took root, longing for action and sustenance. Her journey toward nursing could not be embarked upon without first confronting her current job. Facing her boss and asking for a shift change felt daunting, and yet the possibility ignited her spirit. It dawned on her that her struggle did not have to be solitary. Transparency could lead to an understanding that might open new doors. That night, a new light flickered in her heart, illuminating pathways of hope and possibilities, fastened by firm decision and resolve. She would work on not letting fear overshadow her ambitions. As she lay in bed, uncertain yet emboldened, her mind wandered to the confrontation ahead. Would she be met with support or resistance? The heaviness of potential rejection lurked, setting the stage for a reality check she'd never before faced. But what if her own strength surprised her once more? The time had come to face her employer. The morning light streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the stacks of bills that littered the table like fallen leaves. Sarah's heart raced as she stared at them, each envelope a reminder of her responsibilities. But today felt different, charged with the promise of change. There was a new clarity in her thoughts, urging her to confront her fears head-on. As she prepared for work, Sarah took a few moments to breathe deeply, focusing on her intentions. Today, she needed to ask for a meeting with her boss, a request that felt monumental. The fear of judgment hung heavy. Memories of past confrontations flooded back, igniting a familiar sense of dread. Yet beneath that dread was an underlying strength, a determination fueled not just by her aspirations, but by her love for Lily. Arriving at work, Sarah's mind raced as she navigated through the familiar chaos of the diner. She moved with purpose, serving pancakes and coffee, while mentally rehearsing the words she would say. Each customer's smile bolstered her confidence. For every interaction, she imagined herself as a future nurse, compassionate, attentive, and strong. When the time finally came, she hesitated at the door of her boss's office, a palm pressed against the cool wood. Would he understand? Would he scoff at her ambitions? Taking a deep breath, she opened the door, the scent of old coffee and paperwork wrapping around her like a blanket. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Her boss looked up, eyebrows arching slightly. "Sure, Sarah. What's on your mind?" The words threatened to tumble out in a chaotic rush, but she steadied herself. "I've been thinking about my schedule. I want to take some classes to pursue nursing, and I need to adjust my shifts. I know it may be inconvenient, but—" The trail of thought stumbled as doubt pricked at her. "But I believe it could lead to better opportunities for me here, too." Silence enveloped them, stretching and shifting, filled with her racing heartbeat. Then he leaned back in his chair, studying her. "Nursing, huh? That's ambitious. How do you plan to balance it all?" Relief and anxiety danced in her chest like a fragile flame. "I can work mornings and weekends. I'm willing to put in the effort. I really believe becoming a nurse is where I'm meant to be." The conviction in her voice surprised even her. He considered her words, and for a moment, she feared she might have misread him. Would he dismiss her dreams? Just as those thoughts tightened their grip, he finally nodded. "Okay, let's see how we can accommodate that. I appreciate your honesty. Just make sure you don't overcommit yourself." Something lightened in Sarah's chest, almost like the first hint of dawn breaking. "Thank you. I won't let you down." As she exited the office, Sarah felt strangely buoyant. It wasn't a grand victory, but it was a step, a significant one. She had challenged her fears and emerged with a negotiation that resonated with her dreams. The lingering echo of her boss's approval sent warmth surging through her. She envisioned telling Ms. Collins and Lily the news. Throughout her shift, every coffee pot filled was an act of self-affirmation. But as she wiped down tables, a new worry unfurled. What if the time she spent studying took away from quality moments with Lily? The thought sat heavily in her stomach. How would she balance her ambitions with being a nurturing parent, ensuring her daughter felt supported and loved? That evening, she returned home to find Lily sprawled on the floor, coloring a page filled with flowers and butterflies. A pang of guilt coursed through her. Would pursuing her dreams mean less time with this joyful little girl? As she settled next to Lily, she forced herself to communicate openly. "Sweetie, Mommy is going to be really busy soon. I'm going to school to be a nurse. But I promise I'll always make time for you, okay?" Lily looked up with her big, innocent eyes, a mixture of confusion and intrigue. "So you'll help people like the doctor at the playground?" "Yes, exactly," Sarah nodded, relief flooding her. "But I might have to study a lot." The little girl beamed, her face lighting up. "Then I can color and help you study. We can be a team." Laughter bubbled up in Sarah's chest, and for an instant, her worries dissipated. This plan could work. This pursuit could become a family journey rather than a distance that separated them. As Sarah tucked Lily in that night, a renewed sense of purpose enveloped her again. But as she climbed into bed, another realization crept in. She had made a pivotal move, but now she needed to keep that momentum. Each choice forward could ripple into both her aspirations and her family life. The shift wasn't just about balance, it was about weaving her dreams into her identity. The phone buzzed on the nightstand, a notification from a local community college about upcoming nursing programs. It leaned toward the challenge of organized chaos, and uncertainty washed over her once more. Was she truly prepared for the commitment that lay ahead? The moment to decide was drawing near, her heart thrumming with both excitement and trepidation. The path had begun, but what would the next step reveal? The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting soft patterns on the walls. Sarah awoke with an unusual sense of vigor, the weight of the previous evening's uncertainties overshadowed by the thrill of potential. She had a plan, a light illuminating the path ahead, no matter how fraught with challenges it might be. But the phone notification still lingered in her thoughts. Encouraged, yet anxious, Sarah picked up her phone and read over the details of the nursing program. It felt like a doorway into another world, a world where she could touch lives, where her knowledge would hold weight, and where she wouldn't just be making ends meet, but building something greater. As she sipped her coffee, her mind churned. The thought of dedicating evenings to study weighed heavily. The delicate balance she had envisioned with Lily wobbled precariously on the edge of her resolve. Would her daughter understand if she was too busy to help with homework or to be there for bedtime stories? Conflicting emotions waged war within her. The promise of a brighter future clashed with the worry of losing precious time with her child. Determined to build a solid foundation for her future, Sarah fortified herself with a fresh outline of her responsibilities. Today was not just another day, it was a day to act. She grabbed a notebook and made a list: study schedule, potential resources, and after-school activities she could involve Lily in. The more she organized, the more control she felt. At the diner, the regular buzz of morning chaos greeted her. As she navigated between tables, serving customers and chatting amiably, she also strategized in the back of her mind. Could she approach Ms. Collins, her mentor from high school? Perhaps she could offer insights into managing her time or share study techniques that had helped her. That thought blossomed into action. During her lunch break, Sarah pulled out her phone and hesitated, thumb hovering over the contact screen. Would Ms. Collins be willing to help? In a moment of spontaneity, she pressed call. The sound of the ringing clarity over the diner's noise was almost therapeutic. "Sarah, is that you?" Ms. Collins answered, her voice warm and inviting. Sarah explained her newfound ambition, and for the first time she felt aligned with her dreams. "I'd love your advice on how to juggle studying and parenting. I want to make this work, but I'm just scared." "Scared means it matters," Ms. Collins replied, her voice tender yet unwavering. "I'd be more than happy to help. Let's set up a time this week to meet. You can do this, Sarah." After the call ended, a surge of determination coursed through Sarah. She outlined specific questions for their meeting, probing into study techniques and effective time management strategies. Each moment spent preparing felt like she was forging chains of resilience rather than allowing her doubts to hold her back. As she served one last customer before the end of her shift, she was struck by a sense of clarity. It wasn't just about achieving a degree. It was about showing Lily she could pursue dreams without forsaking love and nurturing. By investing in her future, she was also investing in their future together. Later that night, as she sat with Lily on the couch, the little girl pulled out her coloring book again. "Are you going to be busy today?" Lily asked. Sarah bent down, meeting her daughter's gaze directly. "I need to study a little bit, but remember, we're a team. You can color while I work, and then we'll have time for fun after." "Yay! I want to be a part of your team," Lily chirped, happiness radiating from her small frame. Suddenly aware that their shared moments could still thrive amidst her embracing of new challenges, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. Balance was achievable. Just as she settled in with her study material, a text from Ms. Collins arrived. "Let's tackle this together, Sarah. You're about to uncover parts of yourself you never knew existed." The words echoed in her mind, igniting a new sense of resolve. Perhaps the real path to nursing wasn't merely about knowledge. It was about discovering her strength and resilience through adversity. What hidden aspects of herself would she unveil in this journey? Would confronting these challenges reveal a tenacity that could shape not only her future, but also the way she parented Lily? As she flipped through her study materials, a daunting realization hit her. The next step was not just about academic commitment. It was about facing her fears, balancing her passions, and navigating the delicate art of personal growth while being a mother. But would she be able to withstand the forthcoming pressure? She took a deep breath, the reality and commitment feeling both intense and exhilarating. The moment of truth was on the horizon, and Sarah was resolute. Would she find strength in her newfound path, or would the fear of failure creep into the cracks of her resolve? The following day dawned bright and promising, yet the weight of impending tasks loomed large in Sarah's mind. With a coffee in hand, she glanced at her notebook filled with plans, each line representing a commitment, a promise to herself and to Lily. Beneath this organized structure, however, rushed the undercurrents of anxiety and excitement. Before work, she took a moment to review the nursing program syllabus once again, letting each word wash over her like waves crashing against unforgiving shores. As she read about the patient care modules, the thought of interacting with those in need conjured both a rush of passion and a paralyzing fear. A knot tightened in her stomach as she recognized the gap between theoretical knowledge and real-world application. What if she couldn't rise to the occasion? At the diner, the clattering of plates and the chatter of patrons filled the air, but Sarah found herself lost in her thoughts. Her routine tasks felt both familiar and foreign, her surroundings a contrast to the storm breaching her mind. In the whirlwind of the day, she noticed a mother struggling with her own child, whose wails echoed across the room. Between serving tables, Sarah couldn't help but empathize. She recalled her own moments of frustration with Lily, when she had too much on her plate, both literally and metaphorically. When her shift concluded, she rushed home, determined to maximize her time. With Lily engrossed in her coloring book, she set up her makeshift study station. The sight of her daughter's innocent joy threw a fresh layer of motivation into the mix. Sarah realized she could transform her fears into teaching moments, modeling perseverance through her aspirations, allowing Lily to witness the pursuit of a dream despite the surrounding chaos. The evening was punctuated by a series of breaks, brief interludes where Sarah would set down her notes to enjoy Lily's laughter or help her with whatever colors were necessary to paint a dragon pink. Each pause knitted their bond tighter, reinforcing the idea that they were partners, not adversaries in this shared journey of growth. When the clock struck 8, an unfathomable wariness washed over Sarah. She had invested considerable energy into emotionally managing her commitments, but now the reality of her workload began to seep in. She opened her laptop to review the materials for her upcoming meeting with Ms. Collins, her mentor, but hesitation gripped her. What if she failed to impress? What if her mentor saw through her bravado? A wave of self-doubt threatened to pull her under. Biting her lip, she forced herself to redirect the narrative dancing in her mind. This wasn't merely about proving her worth to someone else. It was a venture into self-discovery and empowerment. Taking a deep breath, Sarah focused on her goals. She scribbled down what she wanted to convey in their meeting, questions about practical nursing scenarios, time management strategies, and even insights into overcoming fears that shadowed her. Each word felt like a step further into the light of her potential. Suddenly, a small hand reached out, resting on her arm. Lily glanced up with wide, innocent eyes and spoke precisely what she felt. "Mommy, you look like you're thinking too hard again." The honesty struck Sarah like a bolt. Here she was, trying to carve a path, but caught in a collision of adult burdens and ambitions. "Just trying to figure something out, sweet pea." Sarah managed a weak smile, brushing her hand through Lily's hair. In that moment, clarity emerged. Wasn't the journey she was about to embark on as much for Lily as for herself? The pursuit of her nursing career was intertwined with her responsibility of being a mother. She didn't need to hide her worries. Perhaps sharing them with Lily in a simplified context could inspire her daughter's own dreams and bravery. The weight on her shoulders began to shift into something lighter, more manageable. Perhaps it was time to show Lily that life was filled with challenges, but it was also about channeling those fears into resolute action. That night, as Sarah drifted back to bed, she realized it wasn't simply about finding balance. It was about embracing the chaos and allowing it to fuel her purpose. There would undoubtedly be moments of doubt, but her path was now illuminated, not solely by her aspirations, but by the little heart that inspired her to become a better version of herself. The journey would demand everything she had, but it was a journey worth pursuing. As sleep beckoned, a thought nagged at her consciousness. Would she be able to maintain her newfound resolve amidst challenges ahead? and just how deeply could flaws transform into strengths in her pursuit of not only becoming a nurse, but also empowering her daughter in the process. Sarah woke the next morning with the sun filtering through her curtains, illuminating the remnants of her night's reflections. Her heart raced with a familiar blend of excitement and dread as she prepared for her meeting with Ms. Collins. The glow of the rising day felt like an omen, a chance to shift the narrative from fear to determination. After a quick breakfast, Sarah felt compelled to share her thoughts with Lily before leaving for the diner. Kneeling down to meet her daughter's gaze, she said, "You know, Mommy's starting on a new adventure today. It might be a little scary, but I'm going to learn a lot." Lily's face lit up, her bright eyes reflecting sincerity. "Like a superhero, Mommy. You can do it." "Exactly like a superhero," Sarah responded, her confidence bolstered. The way Lily believed in her seemed to momentarily erase the weight of self-doubt that began creeping back. Returning to the diner, Sarah felt the familiar hum of activity, yet her mind was set on the meeting ahead. Each coffee order and plate to serve became part of a mental rehearsal, a distraction from what she feared but also what she longed for: growth. Engaged with the rush, she utilized brief moments to visualize her approach with Ms. Collins, refining the questions she so carefully outlined the night before. When her shift finally came to an end, Sarah rushed home to prepare for her mentor's arrival. The small apartment felt different, a canvas to be colored with her ambitions. Instead of hiding her scattered papers and disarray, she decided to embrace the chaos, arranging her materials in a way that highlighted her enthusiasm for learning. Moments before Ms. Collins arrived, Sarah caught a glimpse of her reflection in the hallway mirror. She took a deep breath, adjusting her posture, forcing the confidence to override doubt. Her knock on the door shattered the silence. "Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. I'm eager to hear your thoughts." Ms. Collins greeted her with an easy smile that took Sarah by surprise. The mentor's warmth radiated an energy that nudged Sarah from her anxious shell. As they sat across from each other, Sarah presented her questions, the words flowing more freely than she anticipated. Ms. Collins listened intently, nodding, offering insights that felt particularly grounding, revealing layers to nursing that Sarah hadn't considered. Then a moment shifted the atmosphere. "You know, Sarah, it's normal to question your abilities, especially when embarking on something as challenging as this. But I see potential in you. You bring an empathy that can bridge the gap between theory and real-world application," Ms. Collins emphasized. Empathy. The word lingered, resonating within Sarah like a distant bell gently ringing. What if the very quality she viewed as a crutch in her moments of doubt was, in reality, a profound strength? The conversation continued, but Sarah couldn't help but reflect further on her mentor's assertion. Could her emotional landscape lead her to uncover unique ways to connect with patients, turning her fledgling fears into tangible skills? As they wrapped up, Ms. Collins leaned forward. "Keep in mind that vulnerability isn't weakness. It emphasizes our humanity, often allowing us to connect more deeply with those in need." On the ride home, Sarah's mind buzzed, digesting each piece of advice. The concept of vulnerability settled in her chest, igniting something akin to resolve. She was a mother, a student, a burgeoning nurse. The myriad complexities of her identity could coalesce into a powerful force, driving her purpose. Once home, the moment of realization shifted again as she encountered Lily's jubilant energy. In an embrace filled with shared warmth and laughter, Sarah understood. Her daughter was her anchor and her inspiration. If she could confront fears and turn them into strength, she could teach Lily the art of bravery. The night wore on, their playful energy weaving through stories and games until exhaustion settled in. Just before bed, Sarah posed a thought to Lily. "Sweet pea, what would you say if you had to be brave tomorrow? How would you show it?" Lily's face scrunched in deep thought. "I think I would try even if I was scared." Sarah pausing to absorb the wisdom in her daughter's simplicity. Perhaps bravery was not an absence of fear, but rather a choice to pursue passion despite it. As Sarah tucked Lily into bed, she felt the stirrings of a new path before her, a path laden with uncertainties that now felt less daunting. Tomorrow loomed, filled with the potential to transform fear into determination, becoming a mother and a nurse of both body and heart. But the question remained. What unexpected challenges would arise as she embraced this fearless journey? The thought lingered, a bead of intrigue waiting for her to uncover. The morning sun poured through the window again, but today it felt sharper, brighter, almost demanding. Sarah awoke with a renewed clarity, her dreams from the previous night fading quickly, yet their emotions lingered. Today, she had a goal that transcended her role as a mother. It was a step into the realm of becoming a nurse. As she moved through her morning routine, the mirror reflected not just her worn face, but also a woman filled with ambition. Each action was executed with purpose, no longer merely preparing to escape into the comfort of the diner, but gearing up to confront a world that had perceived her empathetic heart as a weakness. She made a mental note. Today would be about galvanizing that perceived vulnerability. With Lily safely enmeshed in her school day, Sarah headed for the diner. The clinks and clatters of plates against the countertop were just an auditory backdrop now. Her mind was already at the nursing school orientation. She felt anticipation surging through her veins like caffeine, invigorating her spirits but also sharpening her focus. A fleeting thought pricked at her, reminding her of the disquiet that accompanied change. Once she reached the diner, the day seemed to unfold differently. Orders raced in and out with a natural rhythm, but her mind lingered on the conversation with Ms. Collins. The earlier exchange began to evolve in her thoughts. Each patient interaction she envisioned could be a tapestry woven from both her technical knowledge and empathy. As she poured coffee for a regular, she practiced her words, murmuring positive affirmations like a mantra. I am capable. I am strong. I can connect. Shifts passed in a blur, and at long last, 2 p.m. arrived, marking the time she had carved out to attend the nursing school orientation. In the moments leading up to her departure, she was hit with a wave of trepidation that sent a shiver down her spine. Emerging from the heretofore safe confines of the diner into the unknown felt as monumental as crossing a precipice. But she chose to push through that hesitation. Arriving on campus, Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she clutched the orientation materials while moving through the sea of students. She observed others with the comfortable confidence of experience, and in each glance, it felt as if her insecurities were swelling even larger. She fought the instinct to retreat into her own self-doubt. The dim light of inadequacy began to flicker. She needed to breathe strength into her resolve. As the session began, she listened intently to the speakers, absorbing each word about the rigors of the nursing profession. And yet, amidst the technical jargon, there was a riveting realization. The human connection was repeated throughout. They spoke of the importance of understanding pain and celebration in equal measure. Each story recounted intertwined empathy with education, igniting a spark in her heart. After the formalities concluded, a chance encounter transformed Sarah's path unexpectedly. While waiting to speak with an advisor, she overheard a conversation between two prospective students who were discussing their fears about the program. Instead of retreating, Sarah felt a pull, a desire to share her own apprehensions and experiences. Approaching them felt impulsive, but she acted on instinct. "Hey, I couldn't help but overhear," she said, her voice wavering yet steady. "I'm just as scared, but facing it might be what separates us from becoming great nurses. What do you think?" The moment froze, a bubble of connectivity forming around them, weaving her narrative with theirs. The women turned, intrigued, and a vibrant exchange ensued, where vulnerability morphed into collective strength. In that space, amidst fellow aspirants, her confidence solidified. She realized she could not only navigate the obstacles, but also assist others in their journeys. Feeling empowered, she left the campus that afternoon, her heart pounding with newfound possibilities. As she prepared for dinner with Lily, she couldn't shake the trailblazing excitement that coursed through her. What if this breakthrough was just the beginning? Later that night, as she tucked Lily into bed, her daughter glanced up with wide, expectant eyes. "Mommy, did you meet more superheroes today?" Sarah chuckled, reflecting on the strength she had gathered. "I guess I did, sweet pea, and I might have become one myself." But as she settled into the quiet of the evening, a flickering thought occurred. If she could connect with others, What would be required of her to confront those still hesitant shadows of self-doubt? With an open heart pounding with commitment, she braced herself for what would come next. What deeper revelations about connection awaited her in the following days, and could she harness them to further challenge her own perceptions? The echoes of unanswered questions tore through her excitement, leaving her restless as the night unfolded. The next morning welcomed Sarah with a crispness that hinted at new beginnings. As sunlight streamed through the window again, she felt an eagerness to seize the day. Today wasn't merely about preparing for another shift at the diner, but stepping further into the world she had glimpsed the day before, a world buzzing with potential, challenges, and new relationships. In the kitchen, as she made breakfast, Lily's cheerful chatter filled the air. It was a stark contrast to the tumultuous thoughts circling in Sarah's mind. Did she truly have what it takes to succeed in nursing? Every moment spent with her daughter reinforced the need for Sarah to push past the nagging doubts. She needed to be an example, not just in words but in actions. Post-breakfast, while Lily readied for school, Sarah gathered her nursing orientation materials from the previous day. The dense stack of papers felt daunting yet electrifying. They represented an entrance into a life meticulously crafted by dreams. She paused to take a deep breath, repeating the affirmations she had practiced. I am capable, I am strong, I can connect. At the diner, the familiar sights and sounds felt more subdued today. As she waited on tables, she reflected on her encounters from the day before. Conversations with her newfound peers replayed in her mind, their fears mirroring her own insecurities, yet instilling an unshakable sense of hope. They were embarking on the same journey, bonded by their aspirations. Then, just as she was pouring coffee for a table of regulars, a sudden confrontation caught her off guard. Jess, one of the diner's frequent customers, leaned back in her chair, shaking her head with a blend of disbelief and disdain. You? A nurse? Don't you think that's a bit ambitious for someone in your position? The patronizing tone sparked an avalanche of emotion within Sarah. A rush of anger mixed with self-doubt took root in her chest, her heartbeat quickening. Was she truly too ambitious? Had she crossed an invisible line somewhere in her pursuit of dreams? But instead of retreating to her familiar insecurities, Sarah pushed back, feeling a surge of strength. Actually, I believe ambition is essential, and I'm ready to nourish my dreams, not stifle them. The words came out assertively, each syllable knitted with conviction. The confrontation ended abruptly as Jess dismissed her with a wave, eyes rolling. Yet, as Sarah walked away, she felt an unexpected buoyancy. By challenging Jess, she had taken ownership of her narrative. How many times had she allowed the words of others to bind her potential? The rest of the day unfolded under a different veil. Instead of feeling weighed down, Sarah found purpose in each interaction. She engaged more deeply with customers, listening intently to their stories, offering empathy and warmth in return. Each encounter no longer existed as mere transactions, but rather as threads weaving her determination tighter. In her quiet moments, Sarah reflected on the unpredictability of this journey. Would there be more encounters that tested her resolve? The thought frightened and exhilarated her simultaneously. The nursing program loomed ahead, but more prominent was the shift within her that had taken root. Her voice had been fortified by her own experience, the realization that her empathy wasn't a weakness, but a strength. As she tucked Lily into bed that night, the familiar question resurfaced. Mommy, did you meet another superhero today? Not just today, Pumpkin. I think I'm finding that superhero in myself. That revelation lingered, flickering in the corners of her mind, like a candle in the dark. The next day brought more opportunities, more connections to foster, and more shadows of doubt to conquer. But in the depths of her growth was a stirring curiosity. What new challenges awaited her in this unfolding adventure, and could she harness every experience to reshape her once hesitant heart? With a deep breath, Sarah braced herself for tomorrow, a confrontation of her courage and a reflection of her evolving self. The strength to push beyond the limits that others had set was rising within her, but how far could it take her? The morning light glistened on the kitchen table, illuminating the remnants of breakfast as Sarah packed Lily's lunch. Confidence was a rare spirit she had to summon again today, especially when the sun shone a little brighter than usual. Rejecting the weight of last night's doubts, she reminded herself that every moment was an opportunity to solidify her resolve. As she headed to the diner, her mind buzzed with thoughts inspired by her new nursing peers. They shared not just fears but aspirations, each expressing a raw desire to change lives. Sarah felt a flicker of warmth inside. She was part of something larger than herself, aligning with those who believed in healing through empathy. The mere thought revitalized her spirit. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was on the verge of becoming a nurse. Inside the diner, the usual chaos greeted her, but today it energized her. She maneuvered through tables with a new purpose. Intently listening to customers and offering a smile came naturally. This was what she loved. Each order taken felt like she was not just filling plates but also fulfilling her own evolving purpose. Jess, however, was a recurrent shadow, lurking at the corner of her mind, an unfinished conversation that still simmered. Amid the order tickets and chatter, she spotted Elaine, a nurse at the local clinic, seated at her usual corner booth. Elaine's gentle smile was welcoming, a small lighthouse amidst the bustling tide. Swallowing her nerves, Sarah approached. "Hi, Elaine. Can I get you the usual?" "Absolutely, Sarah. I was meaning to talk to you," Elaine said, her voice layered with sincerity. "I heard about your ambitions." A knot of anxiety twirled in Sarah's stomach, similar to the one she'd felt with Jess. But as Elaine continued, she felt herself lean into the discomfort. "Thank you for standing up for what you want," Elaine continued, locking eyes with Sarah. "It takes courage to step forward, especially when people doubt your path." "I'm trying to find my voice," Sarah admitted, surprised by the vulnerability spilling from her lips. "Some people think it's unrealistic." Elaine nodded knowingly. "Or they think they're being realistic by calling it foolish. But each time you push back, you craft your identity. You can't let someone else's limitations define your potential. Have you taken the leap to get involved with the nursing community yet? Because they could support you." The familiarity warmed Sarah's heart. Here was not just an advocate, but an ally who saw her aspiration clearly. "I haven't yet, but I plan to after orientation. I'm worried about failing." "Everyone feels that way. Use it. Channel it into fuel rather than fear. Those challenges will shape you as a nurse." There was a moment of silence, a shared understanding of ambition wrapped in uncertainty. The rest of her shift moved like clockwork, each task a mosaic of growth. At lunch, as lunch rush faded, Sarah felt emboldened to offer kindness to a new customer, an elderly man who seemed lost in thought. "What's on your mind, sir?" she asked gently. He looked up, startled, then offered a weak smile. "Just reminiscing. My late wife would have loved this place." The conversation blossomed, a connection building around shared humanity. By the end of her shift, she radiated an energy she hadn't felt in ages, a combination of hope and strength, awakening a deep desire to conquer her inhibitions. Today had been filled with discovery, and yet, Jess's earlier words still whispered in the back of her mind. Was it really possible to turn her ambitions into reality? As she drove home, the question hung like the fading sunset. What if her next step was met with resistance, yet again? Yet as she visualized herself standing before Jess, defending her dreams, a determination surged within her. That evening, tucking Lily into bed, she was met with those bright, curious eyes once more. "Mommy, did you meet another superhero today?" With a smile tugging at her lips, Sarah replied, "More like I'm becoming one myself." But this time she knew the path wouldn't be free of obstacles, nor would it ever be easy. The real journey lay ahead, and soon Sarah realized that embracing the struggle was the first step in her evolution. The thought lingered, shifting her focus towards tomorrow and the confrontation she would face. The time had come to face not just others' perceptions, but her own fears. How far could she go before the next test of her resolve? The new dawn cast a golden glow through the window, illuminating Sarah as she sat at her kitchen table, notebook open, filled with her dreams and plans for the day. She felt a renewed sense of purpose as she prepared to pursue her nursing ambitions. The self-doubt that had once taunted her had dimmed beneath the weight of her convictions. Today was pivotal. Today, she would take a step that cemented her commitment, not just for herself, but for Lily too. As she packed Lily's lunch, her daughter innocently asked, "Are you going to meet more superheroes today, Mommy?" Sarah smiled, a surge of confidence illuminating her heart. "Yes, sweetheart. I think I am," she replied, fully aware of the transforming journey she had embarked upon. At the diner, the morning buzz enveloped her, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, she thrived in it. Today would be different. She was no longer simply serving tables. She had a mission. As she engaged with customers, her conversations took on a new depth. They were now a part of her narrative in this journey towards nursing. She noticed moments of connection, listening intently to stories, allowing empathy to bridge gaps. But soon, Jess appeared, sitting at her usual booth, wearing an expression that would once have set off a cascade of self-doubt. This time, Sarah stood tall, unwilling to succumb to disapproval. "How's your day going?" she asked, projecting warmth that flickered defiantly in the face of criticism. Jess shrugged, barely looking up. "I see you're still chasing that nursing dream. Must be tough." But the weight of Jess's words no longer bore down on her. In fact, they provided the fuel she needed. "It is tough," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "But I've realized that challenges are just gifts wrapped in struggle. I'm ready to find my way." The conversation unfolded with surprising ease, the vulnerability of Sarah's conviction overpowering Jess's cynicism. Disarming the negativity became an affirmation of her purpose. The lunch rush faded, and she took a moment to breathe deeply, reminding herself of her ambitions, as she jotted down notes on future steps in her nursing journey. These actions fueled her resolve, her confidence swelling each time she envisioned herself as an effective caregiver. Later that evening, Sarah met Ms. Collins at a local coffee shop to discuss the nursing program further. As they sat across from each other, Sarah felt both excitement and acknowledgement blooming in the air. "I wanted to express how much your support means. Your belief in me has really shifted my perspective," Sarah began, a sincere note empowering her voice. "It's about time you recognized your potential. You've nurtured others all your life. It's your turn now," Ms. Collins replied, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. With every word from Ms. Collins, the ache of uncertainty receded. Sarah realized she was no longer a hesitant participant in her life, but an active architect of her destiny. They spent hours discussing strategies for balancing work, study, and motherhood. A roadmap to overcoming obstacles became vivid before her. Sarah felt emboldened. She had transformed a mere dream into a tangible reality. As their meeting concluded, Sarah left feeling light, as though every weight she had been carrying had been lifted. She was ready for the studies ahead, facing the challenges with confidence and clarity. Returning home, she found Lily curled up with a book on the couch. "Mommy, did you find any superheroes?" she asked, her eyes alight with curiosity. "I did," Sarah said, kneeling beside her, "and one of them is a little girl who dreams big and works hard." Lily beamed at her words, and in that moment, Sarah felt an echo of fulfillment resounding in her core. Sharing her dreams and aspirations with Lily painted a picture of strength and hope for her daughter. It signified that their journey would be intertwined. Pursuing their aspirations would be a shared adventure. The next morning, Sarah stood before the mirror, affirming to herself, "I am capable, I am strong, I will connect." Each word resonated deeply, and she felt a firm belief replacing the discomfort that had once clouded her resolve. At the diner, a new sense of purpose led her to approach the nursing community for mentorship, embodying advocacy and connection, fostering relationships that would carry her through challenges. When she saw an old customer who had been recovering from an illness, she took the time to show that empathy forged a powerful connection. He smiled, and for just a moment, she caught a glimpse of what her future could hold. Days turned into weeks filled with growth. She navigated late nights studying, balancing quality time with Lily, and strengthening relationships. Each step made her feel not just as a burgeoning nurse, but as a mother sharing values of resilience with her daughter. Then one night, as they cuddled under the stars during a brief excursion outside, something they used to do before life intensified, Lily asked, "Mommy, when will you wear the nurse's uniform?" With warmth surging in her chest, Sarah gazed up at the twinkling sky. "Soon, sweet pea. And when I do, I promise to show you that dreams can come true, no matter how tough it gets." A new mantra filled the air, a commitment to self-discovery and shared journeys, fostering growth and resilience for both mother and daughter. The excitement coursing through them symbolized the endless possibilities awaiting their futures. The journey had molded Sarah into a force of determination, a nurturing spirit breaking barriers. The metamorphosis was complete, marking the beginning of a new chapter filled with gratitude, courage, and relentless ambition. This is how she conquered the echoes of doubt. This is how she found strength in vulnerability. She had not just overcome her struggles but emerged transformed, ready to embrace the role she had long aspired to embody, the healer, the nurturer, the nurse. And as she tucked Lily into bed that night, pride glimmering in her heart, she silently vowed to pursue every path, overcoming challenges while weaving their stories together into a brighter future ahead. Now is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that can inspire your own journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more dreamers like you. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time for all of us to embrace our dreams. Don't wait even one more second. The journey to empowerment starts now.